Okay, today we're talking with Wayne Spruill.
Yes,
Did I
sir.
get your name right? And the interviewer is Mike McGregor from the Grand Valley State University's Veterans Oral History Project. Wayne, I'd like to start by saying when and where were you born?
I was born in Cleveland, Mississippi on August 13th, 49.
Okay, did you live there in Cleveland?
I've
your
been
life?
there all my life, yeah, in that
Okay.
area, right in that area.
What did your father and mother do?
My daddy worked on a farm, and my mama worked in a factory.
Okay. Was it the family farm or?
No, we just worked for
Okay.
somebody else, you know.
Oh, okay. And growing up, where did you go to school and what did you do growing up?
Well, I went to school at Floyd County High School in Edabina, Mississippi, and I graduated from high school, and then I worked on the farm for 2 years till I got 19, and then I decided that wasn't what I wanted to do, so I joined the Army, you know.
Okay. Why did you decide to join the Army?
Well, crazy, I reckon. But anyway, I don't know. I just used to watch it on the news, this and that, and I just felt like it was a thing to do. So I joined the Army, and I went through basic training in Fort Polk, Louisiana, and I went through AIT in Fort Polk. I come home for like 14 days, and then I went to Vietnam.
Okay. When you joined the Army, how aware were you of what was going on in Vietnam?
Well, it looked good on TV. You know, I mean, really, that's what it looked good on TV till I got there, and then we got put with the 101st Airborne Division, and that wasn't good because first day we went out, we stayed out 30-something days before we come back in, you know. But
Excuse me, sorry for that interruption.
okay.
Okay, I want to just kind of backtrack just a little bit. Did you know anyone that had been in Vietnam before you decided to enlist?
No, not really. No, I didn't.
Okay, and were any of your high school classmates that had been drafted or had they joined up?
Not
or?
at the time, no.
Okay, so you just your knowledge was just of the what you saw on TV, basically.
Sure, I was just wasn't really, I don't know, satisfied with life going on. You know, we're working on a farm or what have you, and I didn't know really what I wanted to do. I didn't want to go to college, so I said, well, I'll go to the Army. You know, I was thinking back in the back of my mind I might get some kind of schooling or training or something like that, and I did. I learned how to shoot a rifle. Shoot people.
Was your dad a veteran, or?
He was World War II veteran, yes.
Okay. What did he think about your wanting to enlist?
They didn't want me to go, you know.
Okay.
But I made up my mind I was going to go anyway, and I did. So
Okay. So you enlisted, was it for 2 years or 3 years?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Were you able to pick your school, or was it your Army MOS? Were you able to pick that, or?
No, they give it to me at the end of AIT, you know.
Yeah, okay, so.
And I had no idea when I went to Vietnam I would be with some airborne unit because I was not airborne qualified.
Right. So, okay, so you enlisted and they sent you to Fort Polk, Louisiana for basic training.
Right.
What was your first impression of Fort Polk?
It was hell, you know. Wondering really why I joined up to get into some mess like that, because they put us through a lot of stuff there, you know. And then we was looking forward, you know, well, after basic we get to go home for a few weeks, you know, rest up. Instead, they brought a deuce and a half, put us on back of it, and took us up to Tigerland, and that's where I was for the next eight weeks, you know.
So your basic training was 8 weeks. Describe basic training for me. What did you do in basic?
Well, you know, just learn the techniques of map reading, breaking down guns,
A lot of close order drill. And
right,
kind of
a lot
thing?
of physical training too, you know, PT.
Working on a farm, was any of the physical aspects of it a problem for you, or?
No, no, really, I don't know, I just wasn't satisfied with life, that's what I say, and I just wanted to do something else.
Right.
And at the time, I mean, there's a lot more of my friends and stuff joined the Army back then too, but I was probably one of the first out of my little group to do it, you know. And
So you're in basic. Well, what was the makeup of your basic training platoon and company? Were they from all over the South or all over the country?
all over the country, yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Did you, how did everybody react? Were some people trying to get out of it, out of service?
Not really, no. No.
What percentage of the people in your training unit were draftees, do you know?
Yeah, about 95% probably or more.
Okay, so they were predominantly draftees who really
Absolutely.
didn't want to be there,
That's right. Yeah.
basically. And on the whole, how did they react to the training and the discipline?
Well, they gripe and bitched or whatever, but they went on through it. And then, of course, most of them went different ways too. And then a lot of us went up and we was together again in AIT,
Did anybody in your company wash out of training or had to be recycled or?
No,
Okay.
not that I remember, no.
So you finished your basic. Did you have a graduation ceremony or?
We did,
Okay.
yeah.
And then, and at that point, did they assign your MOSs to you?
They did.
Okay. And you got 11 Bravo infantry. So
That's right, yeah.
Did most of the people in your training unit get 11 Bravo, or were
They
there,
got most of them, well, yeah, they did. Probably again, 95% got 11 Bravo. And some of them, out of that bunch was just not really right in the head, kind of act stupid or something like that. They got to go to Germany and places like that. Because, you got to have I don't know, they just don't take, you don't want to be out there in the field with some dumb butt, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I know you do.
And what was your reaction to getting a 11 Bravo MOS?
Well, actually, when I joined, went to the recruiter, I actually told him, he said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to go to Vietnam." He said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to be in the infantry." I knew that's where I was going anyway, and I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not, but that's where I went.
Okay. So
It sure
he
was.
probably smiled and said,
Yeah, he
"Hey,
did.
we got a live one here." Yeah.
He did, but he was also telling me, you got to join for like 3 years or 4 years or something like that, And I said, "No, you don't. You can join now for 2 years and get out." Because he was just wanting to make more money for himself. Because the more he got to join for, the more money he made on his commission or whatever.
Okay. Were a lot of your drill instructors, were they Vietnam veterans in basic
There
training?
was, yes.
Okay. And what were they telling you about Vietnam?
Well, I don't really remember. Just need to learn what you can while you got a chance to learn it. Because over there they playing for real. Yeah, they for real. They got real bullets over there.
So their basic message was, you better pay attention and
Exactly
train well
right.
because what
That's
we're
right.
telling you is going to help you.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so now you graduated from basic and you didn't get leave to go home, and they put you on a deuce and a half and took you over to Tigerland, which
right.
is the famous place. And were in your AIT unit, were most of the same guys that you trained with in basic, or were they all
A lot
mixed
of them,
up?
I don't really know. I'd probably say 50% of them went on with us up there, and not necessarily being in the same unit. Like in basic, I was in A32. I don't know why that stuck in my mind as A32. Then when I got to AIT, I was in E33. And some of them went to other companies and stuff like
Okay.
that, but it was basically the same place, yeah.
Okay. And were other people in your AIT company from different bases, different basic training bases?
There was, yeah.
Okay. And how many people were in your AIT training company?
Ooh, maybe 25 in each platoon or something like that. Yeah, it's probably 25 or 30, something like that.
So
We had a hell of a lot more in AIT than we did in Vietnam, that's for sure.
yeah, yeah, the training companies tended to be pretty big.
Yeah.
So the now you get to AIT. Was your general impression, was it more relaxed than basic? Did they give you a little more freedom, or?
They did, yes.
Okay. And what was the training like? What was your AIT like?
Really, it's about the same as basic, I reckon. I just don't remember all that real well. I don't remember that far back, a lot of that stuff, but I know I made it through it okay, or what have you.
Was there more emphasis on weapons training?
It was, yeah,
different
definitely.
kinds of
It
weapons?
was, yes.
Okay. And what kind of weapons did you train on? Can you remember?
We trained with the M14. And then that was about the time that it changed from the M14 to the M16. And then, of course, when I got to Vietnam, my first weapon was a M16 with the grenade launcher.
Okay. Did you train with that in AIT?
We did. We shot it a lot, yes.
The one that was on the M16 or just the M79?
Just the M79, that's right.
Okay. And you train on crew served weapons as well?
Like?
Like machine guns, 50
Yes.
caliber, recoilless rifles?
All of that, yeah.
Okay, so you did a lot of that.
And you got to throw one hand grenade.
Just one, yeah. I know we threw one in basic
That's what,
too.
well, maybe it was basic, I don't know, but it's one of the other.
Yeah, and how much time would you guess you spent in AIT on field maneuvers? I presume you patrolled a lot and
We did.
marched a lot in the swamps and that.
Out of 8 weeks, what, week and a half, 2 weeks? Does that sound about right, or?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, and land navigation, did you have classes on compass reading?
We
and
did,
map
yes,
reading
we
and
did,
that?
yeah.
How about any radio training, any protocol on training radios?
Yeah,
or-
we did that too, yeah, we did.
Were the people in your company, I know some people, had, maybe were assigned to 81 mortars and that kind of thing. Did everybody get training in that too, or did they just select some people
Yeah,
for
some
that?
people, yeah,
Okay.
because it wasn't.
So you didn't have that.
Right.
So you spent a lot of time weapons training and patrolling. Now, when did you go through AIT? What months were it?
Well, like I said, I joined and went in the service on February the 12th of '69, so I figured up 8 weeks.
February, March, April, May, June. So you were in Fort Polk when it wasn't very hot as it is in the summertime.
Yeah, well, it got pretty hot now. See, my second in my AIT, of course, I got July the 12th, so I was there the month of
No.
July and August. Yeah, it was very hot.
Oh, okay. Okay.
No, I say July and August. Wait a minute, Helen.
You probably got out of AIT about June or July, right? Yeah.
Right, about the last of June. That's right.
Okay. Okay. So now you get out of AIT. Did they give you orders right away?
They did.
And so you knew you were going to Vietnam.
I did.
And how much leave time did they give you?
I'm gonna say 14 days, 2 weeks.
So you got to go home. And when you got home, your dad being a veteran, what was his reaction to your getting orders to go to Vietnam as an infantryman?
They didn't like it, I mean, they knew what war was like. I didn't. But I still wanted to go, If I had to do it again, I'd probably still go.
Now, when you got your orders, did you have orders for a specific unit or just
No.
to report to a replacement depot over
That's
there?
right.
Okay. So after your 14 days, then where did you go to ship out to Vietnam?
I went to Oakland, California, is where I left from.
Okay, so you went to the Oakland Repo Depot.
That's it.
And then they call. Did you experience any anti-war protesters there?
I did.
Could you tell me about that?
Well, no, I didn't realize what there was. I didn't know there was protesters. We didn't have all that mess back in where I was from. And then what I really remember is when I come back, all the protesters.
Okay, yeah. So there were some around Oakland, but you didn't really pay attention. You didn't
No,
know.
I did
You
not.
didn't know what that was about.
I didn't know what it was about, didn't care.
How long did you stay at the replacement center there in Oakland?
2 days, maybe a night or 2 nights, no more than that.
How did they pick people to ship out at Oakland? Because when I went through Oakland, all we had to do is make 4 formations a day, and they'd call out the names of the people who
Right.
were on a manifest. Did they still practice that when you were
Same
there?
thing, yeah.
Okay.
And then, like I say, that group went to, what is it, Thompson? No, Cameron Bay.
So you left Oakland, and then you probably went up to Travis Air Force Base to catch a plane
Travis, that's right,
to Vietnam.
right.
And so do you remember any stops on the way to Vietnam?
We stopped at Hawaii and Japan.
Okay. That's the same route I.
Okay, I got you.
Hawaii,
Yes.
Japan,
Right.
and then right into Cameron Bay.
That's right.
Okay, so now, when you got to Cameron Bay, when the plane landed and you got to get off the airplane, what was your first impression of Vietnam?
Wait a minute, let me back up a minute, okay?
Okay, sure.
I'm saying Cameron Bay, which, that's where I was in the hospital at, which I'll get to that a little bit later. Benoit is where we landed.
Okay, you went to Benoit.
Benoit. Okay, when we landed and started getting off the plane, they shot a rocket in, you know, and everybody started running to the bunkers, the people outside, you know. And we looked at them and thought there's a bunch of fools, you know, what are they doing, you know? And then they told us to do the same thing. Of course, it was over. They shot one, just a harassment round, I reckon it was. That's what they said, I don't know.
What time of day did you land at Benoit?
It was middle of the afternoon.
Okay, so it was that afternoon, and when
Right.
you got, what was your first impression when you got off the plane? I mean,
A smell, it had a smell.
Okay.
And that smell stuck with you for a year. It's just it smelled. It's just, I don't know, I couldn't really explain it. But I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Exactly,
Being
yeah.
a veteran, yeah, and it was there.
Okay, so they shot just one harassing rocket. Did it land close to the airfield, or?
I don't remember where. I don't know. But that was just somebody said that they shot a harassment round or what have you, which I'm sure is trying to shoot it in there close, but they just missed or something, you know. Maybe.
So now you get off the plane, they shoot the rocket, and then what happens to you then?
Maybe they put us like in a group, got us off, and then I don't really know exactly when we was appointed to go up north to the 101st. But I don't really remember staying. I think that same day, if I'm not mistaken, they picked us and said, you know, this group here, I mean, this group here will go up north, and this group will go here and there. I don't know exactly how they said it or put it, you know, but I was in one of the groups that went up north.
So you got selected. At this time, when you got in country, did you have your jungle uniforms in that, or were you?
No.
No. So
No.
Were those issued to you at Benoit?
No, there wasn't.
Okay.
In fact, we still had our khakis on.
Okay, still had khakis.
Yeah,
Okay.
and is that the way you was? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, we had our khakis on, and then after they told us, you know, y'all will go up north to the 101st, and then we went to. I really don't know where it was, but we went to the P training, 5-day P training, and that's where you issued your jungle clothes, and of course they put your little stripe on, your name on, and what have you.
Okay, so was that in Benoit, or when you got to the 101st, or don't you recall where that happened?
The P training was in Benoit.
Okay. So you get that. Now you got orders for, you know, you're going to 101st, and everybody, you know, it's the 101st Airborne. You didn't go to jump school. What was your thoughts about going to the 101st?
I don't know. You know, when you was in training, you always, when you seen the Army signs everywhere of division stuff, and everybody always liked the 101st. And of course, when you first got your patches put on, that's all you looked at, man. You're in the 101st now, you know. And I didn't know at the time that that's the only one that didn't give you a lot of breaks from the field and stuff. Because sometimes you stay out there 30 and 40, 50 days at a time. You know, you was there.
Mm-hmm. So you had the, okay, now you're going to the 101st, and at least by that time, they were just an air mobile unit. They weren't airborne anymore, but they kept the name. So you left Benoit, and you had to travel north to join the division.
Right.
How did you get there?
In a C-130 or C-136, that's which one it was.
Okay, probably a C-130.
C-130, I'm pretty sure it was.
4-engine cargo
That's
plane.
right.
Yeah. And where did you fly to? right to Camp Evans, or?
Yes, too, right.
So you landed in Camp Evans and you got off the plane, and then what happened?
And we got on a truck, and they took us back up like to the company area, what have you, and we had some first sergeant there, Schmidt was his name, and he got us all together and talked to us and what have you, and he said, how many of you guys are private E2s? And I think just about everybody raised their hand, you know. That's what we had when we got out of things, just that one strike. And he said, all of you now are PFCs. And we thought, oh man, we done got promoted. But anyway, and then they picked us our companies and what have you, and we went to that and got all our ammunition, guns and stuff like that. And like I say, I was issued the M16 with the grenade launcher on the bottom. And they give me a bag full of ammunition. And I wasn't used to walking up and down like that. Man, you walk and you have to hold that stuff up. You're not used to walking with all that weight on. Because we went out there maybe that night or the next night or something like that. They trucked us outside and we started walking.
Now, what time of year was this then?
What was in
Then,
July the 12th is when I got to Vietnam.
okay, so
It's somewhere around the 17th to 18th of
okay,
July.
so it's the mid towards the end of July.
That's right.
There. It's kind of hot.
Yeah. And then when we went out like that, the very first night, we was walking, and of course you stayed just far enough back. I don't even know where we was going, but we was going out, you know. I didn't know what we was going out for, I really didn't. And I know at the time, had a big old ditch, and I went down in the ditch. And when I got right in the bottom of the ditch, right up on the other side there, they started shooting rifles and throwing hand grenades. I said, what the hell is this? So I just backed up in the corner, you know, not knowing what's going on. And in fact, this is the first night out. And in fact, they had a little water hole there, and I had to step in it. And I was tiptoeing around to get one of my feet wet, you know. But anyway, it was over there after a couple of minutes. Then we got up and we all got down, and they called a Cobra gunship in, and it shot for about 30 minutes, it seemed like. Tracers going everywhere and what have you. So,
And this was right outside of Evans, right?
that's right.
Okay, but before you joined your company, did you have any kind of familiarization course or anything to Vietnam, where all the new guys had to go through the course, or?
Other than P training, I didn't know.
Okay.
I reckon. Not that I remember, no.
Okay. And, well, then in P training, was that at Evans or was that at Benoit?
No, that was a Benoit.
Okay. And what did that training consist of? I know you got your uniform issued and that. And
Right.
So what did all that involve?
Well, really about, they showed us like a bunch of booby traps, which I don't remember all that, but that's what it's about, booby traps, and don't be no hero, you know, because you want to go home.
Just kind of an introduction to the field and what.
Right, well, I remember they telling us, you know, look, all that stuff you learn in basic AIT, some of it might have helped you, but he said if you want to go home, you need to pay close attention to this.
Going back to AIT, just for a moment, were any of your instructors Vietnam veterans
Yes.
in AIT?
Uh-huh.
Did you find what they, in retrospect, once you
Yeah.
got there, did you find what they taught you was relevant to
Sure.
your experience out in
Yeah.
the field, and it was helpful for you?
It was. And you come back and say, well, what did you really learn that helped you? I mean, everything. Because you know yourself, you know, it's a lot of predicaments you got in Vietnam, and evidently I got out of them because I'm here now.
Yeah. So you were assigned to, let's see, that was what, Delta Company?
Delta Company.
2nd of 506.
Right.
You started at Camp Evans. You were patrolling around Camp Evans. For first night, you had that situation. When you were out in the field, kind of explain what your basic load was, what you carried.
Well, that's what I say. I started out with the M16 with the grenade launcher. And everybody carried a little length of machine gun bullets. And, you know, not many, but then, of course, you had your machine gunner and ammo bearer and you toter or what have you, but everybody, you know, and if you did get in contact, everybody'd have a few bullets, you know, last a little bit longer or what have you, but
Okay, so you carried, how many rounds for the grenade launcher would you carry?
I'm gonna guess it 25?
Okay, and those were in a bag,
Yes,
right?
sir,
Yeah, okay.
that's right.
And for your M16, what kind of basic ammo load did you carry for that?
We had 2 bandoliers of ammunition. And I think when they first went out, we tied them across.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then at some point, you know, everybody got the canteen deals where they could stick the magazines in those. And I don't know, probably 10 magazines, 12.
Okay, so your ammunition, your personal weapon, extra machine gun rounds, what kind of personal stuff did you carry? I mean, when I say personal, like
Yeah.
poncho, shelter half, poncho liner.
We had a poncho liner, yeah. I mean, that was basically it, other than your toothpaste and your shaving stuff and, you know, razor, just.
Would you carry any C rations with you?
Oh, yes, sir.
How many meals would you carry?
I'm gonna say 3 to 5
Okay.
days, cause they come out and resupplied us pretty often, you know, brought mail or what have you there.
So you figure 2 meals a day maybe, so you carried what, either, you know,
8 or 10, yeah.
six to 10,
Yeah.
10 boxes of C, right? Would you carry them in a box or did you break them down into socks? A lot of guys carried them in socks tied to their
Both
elbows.
ways, you know.
Okay.
So,
About how much weight would you say you were carrying?
with everything, I don't know, what, 70, 80 pounds, I imagine?
So that was in your pack?
Right.
Yeah.
Because you had extra water tied on the back of your rucksack and this and that. A lot of them, I remember, had ammo cans tied on the back, you know, to keep their envelopes and their writing stuff, keep it dry.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah. Okay, so now you, with Delta Company, how long were you operating around Quezon, I'm sorry, around
Evans.
Camp Evans before you moved out or relocated? Or?
it was, we didn't stay there long, maybe 3 or 4 weeks probably in the lowlands there.
And that activity was basically just patrolling a
Yes.
certain distance
Uh-huh.
away from Evans and
But
that
you see,
kind of thing?
the 101st, they had just come back out of the Ashaw Valley then. And of course, they was stationed there, and evidently somebody else had went in and took their AO over, and then anyway, we went back up in the mountains again,
Okay.
which was pretty.
So you joined them in, so you're there, what, August, September, right around Evans and that kind of thing?
Right.
And that was, that would have been in 69?
69.
Yeah, okay. And so how long, so when did you redeploy out to the hills or the mountains and that kind of thing? You spent a few weeks around Evans?
Right. And then we went back out in the, up in the mountains. And I think our first was Airborne. No, Firebase Jack is where the first one we went. And then from that, you know, you went out on patrols and this and that. And then I don't know how long it was before we went back to Jack's. I know we stayed out in the field 3 or 4 weeks, I imagine. 2 or 3, 4 weeks, I don't know.
And if you can, just describe a typical day out in the field. What would it consist of?
Well, you know, we'd try to get at a place in the daytime. We did a lot of our moving at night. And in fact, we did all our moving at night when we was down in the lowland. Up in the mountains like that, we, I don't know, just, you know, you get you a good secure place and set up your little listing post, you know, and you'd sit in there and just do the typical thing and read or something like that, you know. And because it was a long time before we had any kind of contact or anything like that.
Okay, so after your first night there, where there was a firefight
Right.
and the Cobras came, when was your next firefight?
June. Well, it was just all little small ones. I mean, every maybe a month, month and a half or something like that it was.
Now, when you were operating that way, were you operating in basically a company formation, or would platoons go out and?
Well, when they first got, we kind of worked together as a platoon.
Okay.
Of course, this squad would go out here and there and what have you. But yeah, we worked basically in squads. I
Okay,
reckon
on
you say
squad
right.
level. When you're in the lowlands, did you encounter much of the civilian population?
We did, yeah, we sure did.
What was your impressions of the civilians there?
I didn't think a whole lot about them, I mean. But yeah, we did. We seen more there, because up in the mountains you didn't see civilians.
Yeah.
They wasn't there, no.
Okay. So you said you were in the lowlands. You said about 4 to 6 weeks, and then you went up to
Probably 4 weeks,
back
yeah.
into the mountains.
Uh-huh.
Okay, you went to the mountains, and what were you doing there?
Same thing.
Okay. Did you make much contact there? Or?
Yeah, ever so often, yeah. But it wasn't nothing big, it never was. I'd say nothing big. I mean, every once in a while you shoot a gook on the, come up and, well, you know what I'm saying. I
You
don't.
basically stumble upon them, or
That's
they
what I'm talking
stumble
about.
upon
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
and it was.
I don't really know what we was
Was it
even
like
out there.
unit actions, or just kind of little individual things like that?
That's right. But I mean, I don't know what we was even doing. They'd send us out here like a fool over here and another squad over here. What was you? We don't know what we was looking for.
Okay. Did you see much sign of enemy activity, like trails or
We did.
pushed
Yeah.
over grass, and
Right.
any bunker complexes that you come across?
We've come across bunker complexes. Yeah.
But they were basically abandoned. That they.
Right. We actually, I don't know what month that was either. That was up in the last part of '69. We our Delta company, they found some bunker complexes that had a bunch of rifles, AKs, RPDs, and stuff like that. And of course, they got all them. I'm talking about like hundreds of guns,
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
You found a big weapons cache.
Right.
Yeah. That's.
Yeah, weapons cache. That's what. Yeah. Okay.
And what would happen to those weapons? Were they backhauled out?
Backhauled out. Yeah.
Okay. So, now, when you're in the field, how often were you resupplied?
Most of the time, every week, say, maybe 4, 5, 6 days, I don't know.
Yeah. What
Well, it was always good about getting the stuff out. Then, during the monsoon season, we was up in there, and it was kind of hard, because we had some days up there we couldn't. We had to go down to like maybe a meal a day.
Because all your resupply came by
I
helicopter.
came by helicopter, and in the monsoon, up in the mountains like that, the cloud would get up, be fog or what have you, and the helicopter couldn't come in, they couldn't leave.
Okay. And when you did get resupplied, what did that generally consist of?
Sea rations, sometimes soft drinks, the SP packages where you had all your toothpaste and all that stuff, cigarettes.
Cigarettes, chewing tobacco, cigars, soap, enough for 100 men for one day, right?
And everybody, that's right.
Yeah.
And we'd get what we wanted, and then after we'd just bear the rest of it, or
Yeah.
I'm sure, is that what y'all,
Yeah.
same thing, yeah.
Yeah. So that was there. So and ammunition, and how often would you get mail out there? Every time you got resupplied, would you have
That's
mail?
right, the mail would come out, that's right.
Now, were you getting a lot of mail from your folks and that, or?
Yeah, just average, I reckon, you say.
Okay, so now you're with Delta Company, and you're in the mountains, and you're with Delta Company for about 6 months.
Yeah, till somewhere around the last part of December.
Okay, and basically you were up in the hills. Now, when you went up in the hills, would they take you back every now and then to re-equip and resupply and stand down a little bit, or?
Yeah,
How often would they do that after, if you're out in the field?
Well,
You said you were out about 30 days or 25,
Yeah, that's what I
30
was
days?
finna say. Like I said, I went out in the field actually around probably about the last of July, and then I left and went to the recon team, and last of that, they probably sent us in maybe 3 times, maybe.
And
Somewhere in
what would they, how long would that be, your stand down, and what did that
One day,
consist of?
one night.
Okay. So they sent you back, took you out of the field for a day.
That's right.
A day and an overnight, and what would happen?
Well, you'd go back, you'd go in, you'd get new clothes, new socks, what have you. Get you a shower. If you had anything wrong with your weapon, you'd get it fixed. They had people there to do that. You'd get it fixed, and if you had a bad one, you'd get another one or what have you, and then you'd combat assault out somewhere the next day.
Make a couple hot meals.
A couple of hot meals, yeah, and they'd have you a little beer for the guys that drank, which everybody I think did then, that.
If they wanted to or not.
Well, they wanted to or not, yes.
Yeah. So you stand down for basically an overnight, then off you went again.
Right.
Someplace. Now, when you were in the hills, did you have any experiences with the wildlife out there, or?
No, I didn't. Never. Only thing I ever seen in the wild, parakeets and birds.
Okay, birds. Yeah.
Of course, later on, our recon team, they killed wild hogs and, different things. I think it was maybe deer, and it was still a few over there, not many.
And leeches were a problem?
Very bad. Very bad. That's where you had your strings in your breeches, you tied them tight where the leeches couldn't get on you at night. And then when they did, they're gonna get on you anyway. And when they did, they'd be sucking blood all night. And then the next day, when you find one, it looked like the size of a hot dog, where it done sucked all your blood. And then sometimes you roll over on that thing and you break it, bust it open, and you'd have a big bloody spots. And you know how that smells after about 2 weeks, because you didn't have any clean clothes and couldn't get any.
And the leeches were there right in the dead leaves and
Exactly,
all that,
but they
as
was
well
more
as
so
springs.
worse around the rice paddies and stuff
Yeah.
like that, naturally.
Right. Okay, so you were there you were with Delta Company until about December, and then you went to Echo Company.
Right.
Now, how long? When you joined 2nd of 506, what did the battalion consist of? Did they have 4 rifle companies?
Yes.
And Echo Company, was that just
That was-
formed up, or was
No,
that
that was
already
the-
existed?
Yeah, that was there. That consisted of your mortars, your artillery, your mortars, and your recon, and then snipers. Of course, we was considered recon or snipers or what have you.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
Okay, and it was like 11 snipers. What they did, they got 2 out of A company, 2 out of B, C, and D, and I was 1 out of the D that went. And it was one more somewhere. It was 11 snipers there. And it so happened that I was like the only Sergeant E5. I just made Sergeant E5.
So you got there in July, and they told you were an E3,
Yeah.
and then in December you're an E5.
Right. My 3rd month, I think, was I got Spec 4.
Spec 4. And,
Yeah, right.
And then did you make E5?
Right
were you
about
still in Delta Company?
probably about the first part of December. I
Okay.
made.
And as an E5, you were a squad leader then.
That's right.
Okay.
And then when we got to the sniper deal in Echo Company, I was the only E5. It wasn't like a line company would need a couple of snipers. When I say need or want them or whatever, then First Sergeant put it up to me, Sergeant Spruill, because I was the only NCO there. And I'd pick 2 snipers to go, and usually if Alpha Company wanted them, you'd try to get the 2 guys from Alpha Company. And they would just come in and out, And then when they get to Delta Company or something like that, I would try to go back to it, because I had friends that I'd went in with, I'd been with for all those months,
Okay,
And
so you joined Echo Company, and was that voluntarily, or?
No.
They
no,
said you're
no.
going.
They called me in and said, you're going to sniper school.
Okay, and where did you go to sniper school at?
I did it at Camp Evans. Sniper
Okay.
school is was like a 21-day school, and they put it all in. I did it in 6 because they wanted snipers. We were starting to get a lot of need for them up in the mountains, you know, because they had the M14s with the scope and everybody, and they had a starlight scope to see at night. So that's the reason they put the wanted a sniper, you know, they'd put them out. They worked in 2-man teams, and that was pretty rough too, because you had to somebody had to stay awake all night and have to move, and you're so tired and give out, and whether you moved at night or whether you moved at day, you know, you would still just give out, and it was hard to stay awake.
Okay, so what did the school consist of? Now, you're shooting, probably, you're using...
I shot a XM21, which was an experimental model of the M14.
Yeah.
And when you say, what is an experimental model, it was
That
an
was
M14.
probably a match grade.
It was.
Yeah.
And all the trigger mechanism and all that changed, and they put a new one in it, which cut it from fully automatic to semi-automatic. And of course, we trained and we shot even night in the first training, like 600 yards with the starlight scope at night.
Okay.
And then, of course, in daylight, we put the regular scope on or what have you.
Okay. So in the training, obviously a lot of it was marksmanship and how to
Exactly.
shoot,
It was.
compensate for windage and
Right.
and that kind of thing. And other than the marksmanship training, they train you in anything else like camouflage or
They did, yes.
evasion and
Yeah,
things like that?
they did,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, and you said you completed the school in 6 days
6
instead of
days.
21
Uh-huh.
days.
Well, I was pretty sharp, I reckon you say, at what I was, you know, doing, and why they picked me, I never know. I know when I was back in basic training, at the end of basic training, you got a possible, because you're shooting an M14, you got a possible 84 targets, and I knocked down 83 of them. And I'm sure that stuck with the records, and I didn't know if that had anything to do with it or not. It could and it could not, because I had a big old plaque for it, you know.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that was in your record. You fired expert
Right.
plus.
Yeah. Well, I've got a big plaque because it was
Yeah.
something that had never been done at Fort Polk.
That's great. So now now after your sniper training, then you were signed to Echo Company. And how many sniper teams were there in the Echo Company?
Well, it was like I say, it was 11 snipers, and then go out in 2-man teams.
Okay, so
But it's
you basically had a sniper, the rifleman, and you had a spotter then. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, and so now how would you be assigned to different units?
I don't know
or were you?
that. I don't know that.
But they say, okay, Delta Company is going here, so they need a sniper team.
That's right.
So a team
Right,
would
and that's
go
where
with
I
them
usually try to go when I was,
when they had a need.
yeah, right.
Okay.
But they pretty much stayed out in the field all times, we did, you know, and then we'd come back in, like I say, you had to come in every week or 10 days to zero your rifle, because it had to be right.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'd shoot at night and, you know, shoot in the day, and then you'd go back out again.
So now you would join a company. This company said we need a sniper team.
Right.
You would join the sniper team, and they're moving
Yeah.
someplace.
Yeah.
And where would the sniper team be, and what would you be doing in association with the larger maneuver unit?
Well, you know, did y'all's unit ever work with any of the sniper units or not? You mean yourself? No.
No, never did.
I don't know.
So this is an
we
education
basically
for
work.
me.
We basically work, you know, just with one of the squads. But then, like the squads would be here, and then we'd go on out another 100 yards, 200 yards, whatever what it was. And
So if a squad went out to say set up an ambush, and your team would go beyond that someplace,
Exactly
they
right.
would know where you're at, and you
yeah,
you'd
definitely.
pick a good field of
Yeah.
fire or whatever and
But
set up.
when we'd go out like that in 2-man teams, it was really scary like that. But we'd take, you know, like the what do you call grenades you put, I meant the things you put in the ground.
Claymore?
Claymore man. And you know what a backblast they'd have? We'd always put them, like 4 or 5 feet from us, facing out. Because if they ever got that close to us, at least we could kill them too, even though they'd kill us,
Yeah. Now, with the sniper team, when you out and set up, were you operating more in the flatlands, the plains, or up in the hills as well?
Up in the hills
Okay.
In fact, the whole rest of my tour was in the mountain.
Okay. So when you're in the mountains, what kind of distances would you be talking about?
Away from people?
Well, no, in terms of what kind of fields of fire would you have? Because it's pretty thick country, right?
Yeah, right. Well, that could go up to, I trained us up to 600 meters, to shoot rifles. And it ain't like every day because you're a sniper, you go out there and you're shooting somebody every day. It's not like that.
No, I realize that, but
No.
when you'd set up, would you look for favorable terrain where you'd have, maybe you could see
Have a clear shot if you
a
did.
fording place over a
Right.
stream or something, and you set up so you would have a, if it's 100 meter, 50 meter,
Right.
200 meter, whatever.
And then we'd have everybody would have the ammo pouch, I reckon you call it. And everybody carried 2 magazines with tracer rounds, the snipers. Then if you got hit close or what have you, you could take that and call the helicopters out, the gunships, and just start shooting that tracer into what you wanted.
mark
You had
the
nowhere to
target,
go
yeah.
with something real quick.
How often would you do that?
I had a chance to do it twice, and both times they wouldn't do it. I've seen.
You couldn't get the chopper in?
Yeah, I got it. They couldn't. No, they wouldn't do it.
What kind of targets were you trying to target?
It was soldiers. And one time was about the end of my tour. They was coming out of Fubai. It was about 12, 15 of them in a line. I was going to do that, and they wouldn't do it because it was too close to the village. That was right at the end of my tour.
Okay.
And one time we did it up in the mountains. I was going to do it, and they wouldn't. So they decided they was going to shoot artillery. And when they did, they shot the round low and they hit the trees up above us. It was back behind the ridge, and they shot the thing. And they hit the trees, and I called them, so no, don't do no more, because I didn't want the next one to be in on top of us.
Yeah.
And they never sent a gunship out to try to get them or what have you.
So with the tracers, when you had the 2 times you had to use it, didn't work the
No.
way it was supposed to, right?
But you take an automatic rifle and start shooting them tracers when that helicopters come in. He can hit it right on the point.
Oh, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great way to mark a target, yeah. So what would be you're out with a unit as a sniper team. Did you observe much, or?
Yeah, we did. We sure did.
And what kind of things would you do? It's obviously, you're out there, you identify some targets. Did you have a radio with you?
We did, yeah.
Okay.
I didn't tell you, the other man with me, of course, he had a sniper rifle, and he took the Prick 25 or what have you, And then at night, we'd have to, instead of talking, we'd have to, they'd call and break squelch,
Yeah, just break squelch, yeah.
You know what I mean.
And would you have a pre-set up code on breaking squelch? It's
Yeah.
like, 3 times means this and twice means that, or?
And the first time I was on one of the fire bases, and I want to say it was Airborne. And on top of it, it had 3 ridges, and on each ridge, it had a sniper. Maybe it was 222 at that particular time. And on one of them, they had the big giant starlight, the big one. You know what I mean? I'm sure you're familiar with that. And they seen some movement outside the wire, and they called me from one point over to come over there. And so I went. And as soon as I got there, it was a goop stood up right outside the wire. And I shot him first one I ever had to actually shoot. And I could have hit him anywhere I wanted to, and I shot low right here, and he went down. And the next morning, they had 2 scout dogs and 2 guys coming in from Camp Eagle to try to find what it was, or you know, what. And anyway, they went down, they stayed down there a pretty good while. When they come back, of course it was some riflemen went with them. They was toting one of the dogs, it didn't get it, you know, got too hot. Of course, they never did find nothing. They picked up guy up and took him on off or
Okay.
whatever.
Was that the first time as a sniper
Yeah.
that you had to shoot someone? How frequently did you have targets? Or was...
Most of the time you was in with the, not to say you was in when you got to be where you was fixing to have contact, you'd move back in with the squad or the platoon or whatever, you know. And you know what a basic firefight is. It was very few of them that I was actually in. See, when I got to Vietnam, I was on the end of Hamburger Hill. Then on the other end, I left on July the 12th, and Ripcord actually got overrun on July the 23rd, which I was back home then. So I missed both of the bad battles there. And then before, I was out, you know, with Alpha Company a lot and Delta Company. But we was working in the area around Ripcord. I wasn't actually on Ripcord.
Okay.
In fact, as well as I remember, I only went to Ripcord 2 times, and that must have been a month before it was overrun. I'd say April, no, May, it'd been
May or June.
June, yeah. And of course we'd go back out. We went there to actually get resupplied.
Okay, so you went into Ripcord to get resupplied.
Right,
Okay.
and I don't even remember spending the night on Ripcord, to tell you the truth. We would come in, we would go get it resupplied, and then they'd, you know, send us back out again. And
So you were working a lot of the hills and valleys
yes.
and that around Ripcord.
Yeah.
Did you, when did you start doing that? I mean, what time? Was that in April, May, or?
Yeah, it was about maybe, 3 months before
Okay.
Ripcord was overrun, you know.
And in your experiences doing that, did you see increasing signs of enemy
We
activity?
did, oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
We knew something was going on, you know. I think our Ripcord, this is me. I think our recon found a wire coming out of there, somewhere, and they tapped in on it with a cassette player and taped a bunch of stuff. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And I wasn't with the guys then when they did that now, but I mean, that was something. We knew it was we knew something was coming up, we didn't know what.
So, in Echo County, I just want to just step back a bit. I think I understand it. You had your heavy weapons.
Mhm.
You had probably 8 81s or something like that would go around. And you
Right.
had the sniper platoon, and you had a recon platoon
Right.
with it? Okay.
That's
And you were the snipers,
Right.
and you were assigned to the
And-
maneuver companies, and the recon guys did their own thing.
right. And I don't know exactly when it was, but now, during that time, I was on a helicopter, and they sent us out from Camp Evans out in the field, combat assaulted out. And when they did, they put us down in the wrong AO. I was with Delta Company, and they put us down in the wrong AO. And it was the Arvin pilots that put us out. Of course, they hovered down, we jumped. And then they found out we was in the wrong area. So they sent Army pilots. They were sending everybody out. It was like a big deal going on. And they come back to pick us up. And I was on the first helicopter to go out when they picked us up. In fact, we might have even been the only squad on the ground. And when he come up, the helicopter turned like so. It started out, and when he did, the blade hit a dead tree. We got up about 300 or 400 feet, 5, I don't really know. And part of that rotor is slung off. And we went down. When it did, it was like this, you know. And I knew it was fixing to crash and probably blow up or what have you. And I actually was going to jump out, you know, right before it hit the ground, which would have killed me anyway. And when it went down, my lieutenant grabbed me by the collar or the neck or whatever, and he helped me in till it hit. Just so when it hit the ground, it landed up right, because it tore it up.
It hit on its skids, right?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, that's when I got my chest smashed and bruised or what have you, you know. And we had to go back. We had to go back to the area where we had just come from, which, I don't know, maybe a quarter of a mile we had to walk. And all of our radio equipment on the Huey, it wasn't working, and something happened when it crashed. And our Prick 25, it wasn't working. So we had to get all the radio equipment and all the machine guns and ammunition and stuff off of that helicopter. And we went back, and everywhere we looked was a track. I mean, it was that. And we knew it was just, at any minute they was going to capture us or kill us one. And I told them, I said, you know, I wasn't going to be no POW. I done made my mind up. So I got up there and I was actually leading them, hurting, what have you. And about the time I noticed it, that some of the tracks was GI boot tracks. And about that time, our radio started working. We got to talk back to everywhere there was, you know. And they said that the Bravo company had already secured that hill where we had come over. And then that was the biggest relief of my life right there. It was.
Yeah.
Okay, when we get back, then they had to get the helicopter out. And I was the only one that really, out of the bunch, that knew how and what to do to get back to it, you know. So they sent some guys out, some riggers from Camp Eagle that went out. And we got a squad there, and we went back for them to go back, rig the helicopter up and get it out. Okay, when I went back, got back with the company again, of course I went in. I wasn't medevac, but I went in maybe on a mail chopper or something like that. I went back into the aid station there in Camp Evans, and they checked me. I think I might have had a stitch or two in little places, you know, but they put a big elastic on me because my ribs was cracked. The next day they sent me back out to the field. The next day, yeah. And I remember taking that thing off and throwing it away because it was so tight I couldn't breathe with it on. And about 3 or 4 days later, I don't know what it was, I got sick from something, I don't know. Then I was medevaced back. And I went to Da Nang, to the hospital there in Da Nang. And they sent me from Da Nang to the 6cc in Cameron Bay. I stayed there like 2 weeks. And then they sent me to the U.S. hospital ship, USS Repose. You've heard of that, I'm sure. Sanctuary, Repose. And I stayed on it 2 weeks. And, you know, while I was there, I didn't quit writing home. I didn't got to the point I didn't care, you know, like everybody else. And my mama, chaplain had wrote my mama a letter and said that I'd been wounded or hurt and didn't know how or where I was at the time, because I went from Da Nang to Cameron Bay on to the hospital ship.
Right,
They couldn't
yeah.
keep up with me. So my mama got real worried, and she went to the Red Cross in Greenwood, Mississippi, and told them what happened. And they started checking, and they found me about 3 days later on the hospital ship. And a lady and one of the Red Cross workers come up and brought me a pen and paper and told me, said, "You fixing to ride home?" And,
Got it right home right
I
now.
wrote home, and then it just kind of broke the spell, and I started writing again. But when I went back to the field, there we was again, right there in that area around Ripcord. And it was, I actually got down to like 99 pounds.
What did you weigh when you went out over?
140, 145. Then I had to go back out and do the same thing I did again after being in the hospital for a month out of that year.
Wow.
I know. And then I went back. I couldn't damn hell a rucksack weighed much as I did. But I turned 20 in Vietnam in August, because I got there, I was 19. And then in August of '69, August 13th, I turned 20. And I don't know, that's basic.
What were the extent of your injuries from the helicopter crash? Just cracked ribs and no other complication, or?
Well, it done something. I don't know. I swear. I mean, I've got medical records where I was in the hospital, on the repos, everything. It never did say why or what. I don't know.
Okay, so now you rejoined the company. How long did you have left in country at that time?
Ooh. 3 months, maybe.
Okay. So you spent the rest of the time with sniper teams attached to companies operating around Ripcord.
Right. And then when Ripcord started getting really bad, probably the first part of July, because it got overrun on the 20, no, it wasn't. Yeah.
23rd.
Yeah, the 23rd of July, yeah. And probably around the 1st of July when it really started getting bad, okay, they sent a bunch of the people that was in the rear out because they needed them, because they was losing so many men. You know, some of the riflemen that had got rear jobs and stuff, they sent a lot of them back out in the field. And when they did, they knew I was getting close. So I went back in the rear, and I stayed in the rear for the last 2 weeks maybe, just actually doing duty outside of Camp Evans.
Just right around the Evans perimeter.
Right, but I'd actually come in at night. Now, I'd come in the morning, and I would stay there all day, and then we'd go back in out at
So they just sent a sniper team outside?
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
What did you think of Evans at that time? The rear area stuff. Did you see a lot of drug use, or?
I did.
Yeah.
And I can truthfully say I never got on drugs. I don't remember a time.
Okay, Wayne, what was your impressions of Evans in terms of the rear area, drug use, that kind of thing?
It was a lot of it going on.
Do you know who was the primary users and that kind of thing, or?
No, I can't say if it was more blacks or more whites. You know, it was both. They even had it going on. It was going on out in the field too. And I know it was, but I never turned anybody in or nothing like that. But they'd do it out on the ambushes and stuff like that. You know, a lot of that stuff they wouldn't go out and do the ambush like they were supposed to. They'd go to one place, and another team would be here, and they'd get together, you know, and
secure and party.
That's exactly right. And you know.
How often did that happen in your experience?
A pretty good bit.
Okay.
It did.
Okay.
But like I say, and I can truthfully say, I never did any kind of drugs, and I, got out and I got a job, and I worked there for 37 and a half years, and I still never got on any kind of drugs or anything like that, you know.
And at Evans, were there any racial problems?
It was. Oh yeah.
Could you explain, what you saw as problems?
Yeah, but I don't think you'd really want me explaining on this.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was bad.
There polarization between white and black troops and that
yeah.
kind of thing.
And a lot of the blacks, they decided they didn't want to go out in the field, and they didn't. They'd send them to Long Beach to the jail, and that was all a bad time for them. And don't get me wrong now, it was some good, very good black people over there. In fact, one of my, I'd say, best friends that I was with when I was in Delta Company, Al Milburn, and he got a letter, every time he got a letter, he got a picture of his little girl that he had never seen. He had been in Vietnam 2 weeks when she was born.
Okay.
And I think like in his 10th month over there, he walked into the ambush and he got shot in the head here, and a bullet went through his steel pot and went around, almost cut the whole top of his head off.
Ooh.
Yeah. That was about 2 months before Ripcord too, you know. I mean, I can tell you stuff about a lot of things happened like that. And then you ask, you know, how was it around Evans, you know? It wasn't really nothing going on around Evans, if you want to know the truth. Not a whole lot. I know we'd go out at night, and it'd always be a mortar round hit somewhere close to where we would be. And we was wondering who it was. We'd call it in, hey, who's shooting mortars out this damn way? Nobody. And we finally found out it was some Arvins from a little base camp of what they got in around Fubai. We found out who it was, and they stopped them, and of course that was over with. And like I say, I was out at night, then in the daytime, I'd be back in the rear doing nothing. And I'd go up there where the first sergeant and stuff was, we would, and we could hear on the radio what was going on up around Ripcord. And I knew it was, I can't imagine even being there, what it was like for those guys on Ripcord. I really can't. Mm-hmm. You would actually had to be there to know what was going on. But it got down then, like July the 10th, I had heard that Gary Radford, which I know you know Gary Radford or whatever, he'll be coming in here in a little while. But anyway, they said he's coming in, he done got wounded. So I said, well, I'm gonna go down and meet the helicopter and see him a minute before I leave. And I went down there and I walked up in that aid station where they had those guys that was bringing them in just helicopter after helicopter at the time. And I walked in and I looked over in the corner and there was Gary Radford sitting there on the floor with his hands up like this. He was just, looked like smoke and blood, you know. And I walked in and I looked at him and I couldn't go over and say nothing. It hit me so hard. And the people that was laying on the floor looked like a slaughterhouse or something, you know.
Would you say the aid station was overcrowded?
There was definitely, yeah, they were still bringing them in. Okay. And I left, and of course, went on home or what have you, and didn't hear from anybody for a long time. And then in like 72, I got where I stayed in the fight, got to drinking. And I didn't want to be like that. I wanted to get some help. And
okay.
I went to the VA hospital in Jackson.
Okay. Now, leaving the field, you left the field and you came home through Benoit or through Cameron Bay?
Cameron Bay.
Okay. And where did you go? Return to here in the States?
We went from Cameron Bay to Guam, from Guam to Hawaii, and from Hawaii to Washington.
Okay.
Fort Lewis.
At Fort Lewis. Now, at this time, was your 2 years? Your 2 years weren't up, right? So
I had to go to. After I got home, stayed home for a month. That's what it was. Went back to Colorado Springs and finished my time up there from middle of August to February the 12th. That's where I got out of the Army.
Okay. You got out and then you went back to Mississippi?
Mm-hmm.
And been there ever since?
Been there ever since.
Yeah. Well,
but that was just so, thinking about the guys.
I know. I want to thank you for sharing your story with us, Wayne. It's my privilege to have spoken with you about this and for your sharing it with me. So, thanks.
Yes, sir.